Hi everyone and welcome back to Newegg TV. My name is Paul and today we have a very special video for you guys. You might have noticed that we've got some new digs here. We've moved into a new room. I know it might look kind of like we just have new paint, but we're actually in a new room. We'll be giving you guys a tour of this in a separate video. But apart from the new desk and everything, we have our new Newegg TV test bed. This is actually a test bed I've been using for a while, but it's now in what should be its permanent home. We're using the in-wind D-frame case right here, which is, you can watch the overview and me constructing the thing in another video available on our Newegg TV YouTube channel. But our test bed right now is outfitted with 4 NVIDIA GTX Titans, and it's probably just about the best configuration that we're going to have in here, at least for the time being. Who knows what the future may bring. But I've already done some benchmark videos with the Titans. We did our original benchmarks, which was single and two-way. We also brought you guys the 4-way NVIDIA GTX Titan benchmark series as well. And we got a fair amount of feedback for that. A lot of it was very positive, so thank you very much for all of the positive feedback. We also got some very good constructive criticism. And it's something that I actually had thought about yet, but based on all the feedback we got, it was like, well, Paul, you're running everything at stock. And I like to run things at stock when you're doing comparisons because it makes things nice and even. And if somebody else wants to test and kind of verify the results, that's possible. But really the question is, we're dealing with really high-end hardware here, the motherboard, for example, the Rampage 4 formula, designed for overclocking, designed for high-end configurations. So the idea for this video is to show what this test bed and this configuration can do when it's actually overclocked. So for overclocking the GPUs, we're using NVIDIA's GPU Boost 2.0, which has some various parameters, but the end net result was that all 4 Titans were running at about 1125 to 1150 megahertz, depending on the temperature. So a very nice overclock there. Also overclocked our processor, which is now a 3970X, and that was running at 4.5, and then our memory was running at 1866 for the benchmarks that you're about to see. Also finally swapped out for an actual closed-loop liquid cooler, so we have the Sidon 120XL here. It's the thicker radiator version of that. Got that set up in push-pull. And then let's take a quick moment. I'm going to go over the rest of this hardware, all the specs for what's included here, and then we'll go from there right into the benchmark. So why don't we take a closer look at the Newegg TV test bed. Now the chassis, of course, as mentioned, is the in-wind D-frame. This is the orange and blue version, which makes it Newegg colors. And I will admit that the red and black version, which is also available, might have matched a little bit better with the internal hardware, but oh well, what can you do? The central motherboard, which is holding everything together, is the Asus Rampage 4 formula. That's an LGA 2011 motherboard with the Intel X79 chipset, and we're also rocking an Intel Core i7-3970X Extreme Edition Sandy Bridge processor, which is pretty much the fastest consumer processor that's currently available. And again, that's running at 4.5 gigahertz. For our video cards, of course, for this particular test configuration, we're running 4 NVIDIA GeForce GTX Titans. We actually have a couple from Asus and a couple from EVGA, and don't worry, they play together nicely without any problems. We also, powering the entire unit, we have the Roswell Hercules 1600 watt power supply. This configuration, particularly with the 4 Titans, pulls a lot of juice. We're actually hitting up around 1300 watts under gaming load, so 1600 watts definitely warranted for that, and the Hercules has been performing quite well for us. I should also mention it's a bit longer than the D-frame can actually accommodate, but by removing the bracket and simply using some Velcro to strap it in, I actually have it on there nice and smoothly, nice and snug, and yeah, it's been working great. For our SSD, we have a SanDisk Ultra Plus 256 gig SATA 3 SSD. That's very fast, and it's perfectly suitable for our needs. Our memory is G.Skill Trident X series. It's 16 gigabytes or 4 by 4 gigabytes of of DDR3 memory. This is rated to run at speeds up to 2400. This being a Sandy Bridge E build, the memory overclocking can be a little bit more finicky from time to time, so we're just running at 1866 for these particular tests. And then our cooler, of course, the Cooler Master Sidon 120XL closed-loop 120 millimeter radiator. And then the last element from these tests is actually going to be our monitors. We actually have 3 NEC PA301W 30-inch monitors. They support resolution of 2560 by 1600. And that was the last question we got from our feedback on the original 4-way Titan benchmarks test was, You did 2560 by 1600, but what about going beyond that? So we're also going to be sharing some numbers for 7680 by 1600, which is 3 of these running side by side. So we'll be taking a look at a few of those as well. And speaking of which, why don't we just jump right into it and share with you our benchmark numbers for our overclocked 4-way NVIDIA GeForce GTX Titan demo. So those are the benchmarks, and I hope you guys spend hour upon hour just poring over them in great detail. I would like to provide some of my thoughts on that because I did spend quite a bit of time going over the benchmarks, running them in different configurations, also getting everything stable at the speeds that they were. Honestly, if I had a week straight just to spend setting this up, I could probably have gotten this pushed even further. Of course, if you guys are looking for really hardcore benchmarks out there, look for people who have gotten water cooling configurations on the Titans because that pushes them pretty insanely far, especially with GPU Boost 2.0. But 2560 by 1600 versus 7680 by 1600, you'll notice some interesting improvements. But I want to talk about the synthetic benchmarks first, 3D Mark 11 and the Unigine Heaven and Valley benchmarks. Some nice boosts there going from the non-overclock settings to the overclock settings. We got about 10 to 15% performance increase, which is very nice, just knowing you can turn up a few settings and get yourself a nice boost like that. As far as real-world benchmarks go, Metro 2033, Stalker, Far Cry 3, Dirt, Showdown, Crysis 3, Borderlands 2, Bioshock Infinite, which is a new one, Battlefield 3, and Alien vs. Predator. What I noticed about those is that if you take the 2560 by 1600 benchmark results, if you divide it by 3, because dividing that by 3 is equivalent to adding the 2 other monitors, we're essentially tripling the number of pixels that we're dealing with, you'll actually notice that the performance is a bit better than the single monitor divided by 3, if that makes sense to you guys. What that tells me is that going from 1080 to 2560 by 1600, you get a nice boost there, and NVIDIA will tell you that the Titans are designed for higher resolution gameplay than 1920 by 1080. But even beyond that, going from 2560 by 1600 to 7680 by 1600, you see even better performance increase, and it's not linear. You actually get more than what you might see linear performance increase being. So that shows me that you actually are seeing video cards that are designed for a higher resolution, a higher level of gameplay than that typical 1080 or 2560 by 1600 resolution. So there's that. One final thing to note, because I do want to point out this configuration is not really very practical for anybody. You'll click, if you want to, you can click the link in the video down below in the description and see how much all this hardware costs. It's pretty exorbitant. It's pretty much only the type of thing you're going to see in videos like this where we have access to all this stuff. We're not keeping any of these cards, by the way. Well, we're going to keep one because NVIDIA is letting us keep one. But the point being, as far as the practicality of this particular configuration, as far as the practicality of taking three 30-inch NEC monitors and playing on them side by side, it's awesome, but it's really outside of the price points for most folks out there. But I want to make one key point here. 7680 by 1600 gives you about 12.2 million pixels. And if you guys are looking at higher resolution gameplay, what's on the horizon, hopefully in the next few years, is 4K. And there's different resolutions for 4K, but I chose 4096 by 2160. That gives you 8.8 million pixels. So the resolution that we were testing a lot of these games at is actually about 30% more pixels than 4K resolution. So that kind of shows you, as we're moving forward with the resolutions and playing games at higher resolutions, and especially more intense games, we actually already have some of the hardware available to us that is able to play those games at those higher resolutions. So I thought that was pretty cool. And those are my thoughts. I'd like to hear your thoughts as well. If you guys would like to, go ahead and have at it in the discussion section down below here in the YouTube comments. Be nice, of course. Of course, you should like the video if you like 4-way Titans, because I do. I'm going to like this video. Kyle's going to like it too. And I think that's about going to wrap it up. So one last look here at our 4-way Titan configuration. The test bed will be staying with us. The Titans will not. Thank you to all you guys who've been watching these videos. We hope you've enjoyed them. We hope to be bringing you lots more videos just like this in our new digs here at Newegg TV. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you all next time.